the bachelor party before the wedding. Why did I get engaged in the first place? I asked myself at the bachelor party. Was it peer pressure? Parental interference? I distinctly remember thinking, damn it, I'm too young. I just graduated from Ohio State University, and now I'm marrying a fellow Southerner. The wedding was 2 days away. My tuxedo was rented. All the invited guests had made their travel plans. My fiancée Sibylle was hustling to take care of the final details, and here I was, disgruntled and sullen. Although I didn't really want to, my best man and some fraternity brothers who used the wedding as an excuse to get drunk insisted on a bachelor party. My best man arranged the evening at a unique New Orleans-style event at the Mega Party Center, where many events would be going on at the same time, and we would be in a dance hall with other fun seekers. When we got to the Mega Party Center, we found that one room was hosting a wedding reception, another was hosting a corporate event, and the Shindig Hall, where we had reserved 2 tables, was having a really wild gala with changing bands and free liquor. The celebration hall was hosting all sorts of events at the same time, including several graduation parties, a Tulane fraternity party, and a bachelorette party. I really wish I had been in a bad mood because I had never seen such a cluster of people partying so joyfully. I pretended to have a good time, but my conflicted heart was seriously not into it. I also tried not to drink. While many people can temporarily forget their worries by getting drunk, I know from experience that it just makes me depressed. The first few times I swapped tea for the whiskey and sodas my groomsmen delivered to me, it was a little difficult. After they were on their own way to getting drunk, it got easier. After about an hour of fun, I went to the restroom, and on my way back, I stopped by the wedding reception. The bride and groom looked like they were thoroughly enjoying each other's company, laughing constantly, touching and hugging each other, and dancing until they fell over. It got me thinking. As I was leaving the wedding reception, a woman about my age was also leaving, and we bumped into each other at the door. I sputtered an apology, and when she looked up at me, I saw that she was crying. "Is something wrong?" "No, I always cry at weddings." "Yeah, but it's just a reception. Are you here for the reception?" "No, I'm at a party at Shindig Hall." "So am I. I'm going back there." "You know you can't go in with tears in your eyes." Yeah, I suppose you're right." "Here, take this," I continued, holding out my handkerchief to her. By then, I was beginning to notice what a beautiful woman I was talking to. She had long brown hair with red strands, big, seductive green eyes, a perfect nose, and a smooth, tight figure with a nice ass. There was also something mystical about her that I had never seen before. While she wiped away her tears, we chatted some more, just chatting about nothing. Finally, she pulled herself together, smiled shyly, and said, "I'm sorry. I think I wet your handkerchief," returning it to me. I squeezed her hand and said, "Why don't you keep it in case you see another wedding?" smiling as wide as I could. She laughed, said, "Thank you," and we walked back into the hall. I would have liked to continue our conversation, but as soon as we got back to the party, 2 women ran up to her and pulled her away, practically screaming, "There you are! Come on! We're in for a treat!" Before I could even take 3 steps, I was treated pretty much the same way by my 2 groomsmen. As I was being led away by my now officially drunk buddies, I knew it wasn't good. I tried to run away when the lead singer of the band on stage said, "We have a special treat for you all tonight. We're having a rehearsal wedding. Bo and Ida May are getting married in a few days, though not to each other. And we want to make sure they're ready." "Damn, this is going to be really bad," I said to myself as my groomsmen pushed me toward the stage, where one of the frat boys stood with several paper towels tied around his neck, like a poor imitation of a preacher's stole holding some papers. Was I ever more right? The entire crowd seemed to part at a signal, forming an aisle, and while the band played some gibberish, the 4 bridesmaids from the girls' section danced down the aisle one after another, sometimes flashing their panties and even flashing their breasts as the crowd hooted and hollered. Then the band started playing Here Comes the Bride, as a totally embarrassed woman, obviously Ida May, holding two ugly plastic flowers, walked down the aisle past another frat boy with a ridiculous gray wig. After a few steps, I realized who Ida May was, the same girl with the scarf. She did a double take when she saw I was the groom. The preacher made a few half-intelligent, mostly obscene comments that were barely audible over the noise and yelling of the crowd. My best man handed me a piece of aluminum foil in the shape of a ring that I was basically forced to put on Ida May's finger, and the preacher shouted, "Now French kiss the bride," which led to absolute pandemonium in the audience. Ida May's bridesmaids were pushing her toward me, and my groomsmen were pushing me toward her, and it was clear we were not going to be able to avoid it. So as we were pressed against each other, I whispered, actually, it was probably a scream that could barely be heard through the noise, "Too bad nothing will come of this. We'll have to give them a show." A devilish smile appeared on her face as she shouted back, "Okay, it's a real show. If it was pandemonium earlier, I think you would have called it over the top when we started kissing." We both put everything we had into it and stayed clasped for a good 30-45 seconds. When we finally broke up, we both smiled and waved to the crowd, and I picked her up and carried her down the aisle while the band played It Had to Be You. By the time we left the hall, we were both laughing almost uncontrollably. After a final cheer from the crowd, we heard the band start to play Scream, and no one bothered to follow us, as almost everyone in the hall spun around and sang along. I plopped Ida May on the couch in the general reception area for all the parties. Even many years later, I remember our first conversation vividly. "I see we both have really crazy friends, Ida May." "My friends are crazy even when they're not drinking, and even more so when they've been drinking." Well, I was embarrassed as hell, and I didn't like it, but only until the kiss. We really put on a show, didn't we? Yeah, we did. Of course, it helped that I love kissing and am a great kisser. Hey, I should have said that, not you. It helped that you're a great kisser. We both laughed again. Thank you. Look, Ida May, I don't want to get personal, but since you're wearing my priceless ring, I'll do it. Now I understand why you cried at the wedding reception, the same reason I almost cried. You get it, don't you, Beau? Yes. You're as afraid as I am that you're making the wrong decision. You're definitely not ready to get married at all, let alone to the guy you're about to marry, because you don't see yourself being as happy with him as the bride and groom at the reception were with each other. After this exchange of remarks, throwing good-natured barbs at each other from time to time, we had a frank discussion of our mutual misgivings. In all my life, I had never been so attached to anyone, and I don't remember ever having bared my soul to anyone else as I had to Ida May. And she was as stunningly candid with me as I was with her, at one point saying, "My fiancé can't make love worth a damn." She's crazy, Beau. I'm a sweet Southern girl and would give anything in the world to feel a good man. After a meaningful pause, I got bolder than I'd ever been in my life. Look, I know you're going to slap me silly for this, but I'm going to ask it anyway, Ida May. How about we go out and I guarantee I'll eat you? I probably flinched after I said that, but it actually wasn't startled at all, because without even raising an eyebrow, let alone a hand, Ida May immediately shot back. So you think you can give me anything I want? You won't be able to do it, but let's give it a try. Very close by, a little further down the street, was a hotel. I was as excited as a kid doing trick-or-treating on his first Halloween as we literally sprinted and giggled our way to the cash-paid room. We didn't waste any time in vain. We pounced, tearing each other's clothes off, even more passionately than when we put on a show at Shindig Hall. Once we were both undressed, I laid Ida May on the bed and, turning on one bedside lamp, followed her. Ida May was almost incoherent for 10 minutes after her third pleasure. She kept repeating, "Oh God, what a feeling. I don't want it to stop. Shit, I never thought it could feel this good," etc. Do you have a defense, Beau? Shit. No, Sybil's on the pill. Beau, I'd love nothing more than to make love to you, but I'm not on birth control. I don't think my sluggish husband-to-be can impregnate me, but just in case, he's always used protection, and I'm getting an IUD. But it's not due until tomorrow. The day before your wedding? No, my wedding's in 5 days, so today's a good time for a bachelorette party. Oh, man, I have the worst case of blue balls I've ever had. And you're so hot. I want to make love to you more than anyone else I've ever met or even dreamed of. I made love to Ida Mae again, about an hour later. She ended the night with 6 pleasures, and I ended up with the 3 best lovemaking sessions of my life. When I woke up the next morning, Ida Mae was already gone. On top of my pile of clothes was a note. I guess we're even. I wet your handkerchief and you wet my panties. With sex like that, I wish the ceremony at Shindig Hall was real. Have a happy life, Ida Mae. I went through with the marriage ceremony, but it didn't last long. I divorced after less than 3 years. I remarried. My second wife, Karen, suited me much better than Sibylla, and moved to Washington, D.C. About 15 years later, Karen and I were at a party thrown by one of the guys she worked with. As my wife and I were talking to the hostess came up to us and said, "Beau and Karen, I'd like you to meet my co-worker Jerry and his wife Ida Mae." I dropped my glass, luckily it was empty, when Ida Mae met me with a deer-in-the-headlights look. The same Ida Mae. Except for a few wrinkles in her face, she was as gorgeous as when I made love to her 15 years ago. I don't remember much of the rest of the evening because all I could think about was the night I had the best sex of my life. All I learned was that Jerry was her second husband. As my wife and I were getting ready to leave, I approached Ida Mae and asked for her phone number, to catch up since we didn't have that opportunity tonight. "My pleasure," she said as she handed me her business card. Then, before turning to leave, she whispered, "Yes, it's not a bad idea for you to meet your 14-year-old daughter." The end! Subscribe to my channel! Thank you.